control of the systems and the society and the people, and most of the time it is imagined that I have to be in control. So that's a part of my imagination, and I manifest it by being in control. So most of the time there are chances I can move out of that imagination and I can completely change it. So now we come to education as a transformative process. Some Western literature and some Oriental literature, both I will share. So Jack Mezirow, this is a very coined in 2000, this term transformative theory of learning. It's a very new learning theory, which is learner-centered. So most of the education theories, I think they are learner-centered as such, focusing upon expansion of consciousness through which an individual questions. Expansion of consciousness kaise hoga? By questioning, through which an individual questions themselves about their own feelings and beliefs and assumptions and perspectives on their purpose and the process. Now, what is the process of transformative learning? The transformative learning which is needed for renewing oneself. That is why I'm talking about this theory. The process I described is critical reflection, rational disclosure, and centrality of experience. Now, in simple words, critical reflection, where I get different thoughts, where I absorb information and then I think about it. And then rational disclosure is where I discuss, where I try to make a point out of it, where I try to theorize it, where I try to find a logic in it. And then centrality of experience, where I put it into the experience. So if we look at in very simple words, so critical reflection, disclosure and centrality of experience, we can say first one is almost like Shravanam, Sara information lena, sunna, dekhna, absorb karna, and then rational disclosure, discussion within oneself and with others, that is manan, and then the experience, this is nididhyasana, where it is coming to the action. So these are the three, this is the three phases of transformative process according to this theory. Now we'll come to Tagore and Swami Vivekananda and Adi Shankaracharya, and also I have here included the names of the intellectual women of India from the ancient times, which we have probably we never thought about and we have completely forgotten. Also Gargi, Maitreyi and Lopamudra. So when I was writing this, I thought it cannot be the state, it cannot be such state that, you know, it was not such state that it is only the there was no women coming out speaking or was thinking. So that is not possible, because all this has been very, very inclusive and very all that has been written 500 BC or by Adi Shankaracharya before that, that is very inclusive of everything, of all the gender and caste and everything. So here in Tagore in 1890s and then 1900s and then Vivekananda in 1890s. So what they have spoken about education, that is basically very, very transformative aspect of education. They say that the education is transformative by essence. So when Tagore says that it is the, no, it is to develop harmony with all the existence, not only with human beings, with all the existence, the nature. And also the Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda says that it is a manifestation of perfection. So the perfection is already within us. It is just need to be renewed again and again and again. And here the learner is seeker. What we say learner-centered approach, it is they call it, or they already call it as learner as a seeker, sadhak, who is looking for, who wants, who is finding, trying to find. So learner is given that kind of position where and also it says that the purpose of life, not education, is to attain gyan or right knowledge that shows in reflection and action. So purpose of life, not education only. So education is basically, it is absorbed in the life. It is no, education is not something very different from the life. It is a small, it is absorbed everywhere in the life. So, and the purpose is to attain right knowledge, which shows in the reflection, how I reflect, and which shows in my action. So we will now talk about teacher's role and personal fulfillment. So we need to decide our role. First, role as a teacher in modern schooling system. So there is a difference between schooling and education. All of us know that. And so there is a lot of confusion because in modern schooling, the role of a teacher is mainly, the main one role is to complete the syllabus and to complete the assessment process. So role as a teacher in modern schooling, not in education. So what are disadvantages of this? So the thing is that when I see, as a teacher, I see my role only as completing the syllabus and assessing my students. I do not find the personal fulfillment that I am missing upon. And that is where a teacher struggles. That is where the struggle of teacher lies. And then there is a role as a teacher or a guru, what we say, which is more profound, which is more encompassing the complete personality of a child. Though the teacher has been defined, education has been defined as a holistic process of developing the holistically developing the child, and the role of teacher is to holistically develop the child. So teacher self-renewal is the core of education excellence and also the most underutilized approach. Self-renewal ke liye, whatever, all what is needed, that we will come to it now. By not renewing oneself, a teacher remains in the same chaos for most of the life. No? When the teacher starts with some problem, and after 5 years also the teacher is complaining about the same problem, and after 10 years also, and even after 20 years, one person is, like, the teacher is complaining about the same problem, that the system is like this and the parents are like this. So here we need to understand that what is it that is in my control, what is it that is not in my control. So we work on the basis of that. So what hampers our capacity to self-renew? It is our inability to think for self, as I just discussed in the last slide. Inability to think for self in extension with everything else. The compassionate observation, that is what is missing. And if that comes in, the self-renewal will become a natural process. With compassionate observation, the self-renewal becomes a natural process. It just flows. Like we discussed in Basant Ritu, there is a compassion for everything. There is a oneness and there is a connection. So there is a flow in self-renewal process. So the continuous self-doubt, the fear, many fears, this modern life has ingrained fears and insecurities, and high external locus of control. I can't do this because the college is this, because the policy is this, because the system is this. So all those the way of looking at things, and then lack of inspiration and motivation. So this is what hampers our capacity to self-renew. Let us focus on all these things, like where am I? Do I have any one of these, anything of this that is stopping me, or what am I doing to self-renew myself? Self-renewal depends upon understanding of growth. I will renew myself depending on how I see my growth as. What is a growth for teacher? So is it salary? Is it only salary? Of course, salary is an important part of the work, but is it only salary? I'm talking in terms of growth. not in terms of importance. So what we see as as a teacher, what I see as my growth. Do I see growth in salary as my growth? Do I see growth in position as my growth? Or do I see importance of institute, brand name, or government job? Is that is my growth? There is nothing wrong or right here. I'm just this is, from, we can just see where do we fall, where do we where are we here. Is it the transmission of content or the knowledge? That is also very important. So as a teacher, if I'm able to transmit my content very well, if I'm able to transmit the knowledge very well, that is also a very big achievement for a teacher. So is it that growth for me that, 2 years back, I would teach it in a manner that 50% of the class will understand it. But now I can teach it in the way that 100% of the class understands what I'm speaking. So that is also growth. Genuine interest in the learning process. So these are all the parameters of my growth as a teacher. Genuine interest in the student. Why is student not learning? Why some student lagging behind? What can I do in this? What is there? Do I have any contribution? Do I have any role to play here? Being an inspiration for others, that is a part of growth. After 5 years of my work, I am seen as an inspiration for others, for students, for other teachers, for my colleagues. Creating lifelong learners. As a teacher, am I able to create lifelong learners? Are my students interested in continuing their journey of learning? Creating an incubation ground for ideas and innovation. Am I able to create a ground for incubation of ideas and innovation? When will that be possible? If I am approachable enough, if I am accessible enough, if I am not judgmental about child's ideas, if I'm not doubtful about children's ideas, and if I believe in my students, then I can provide a ground for incubation of ideas where students can incubate their ideas, they can experiment with their ideas, and they can speak, they can share, the expression happens. So here we can see, like, these are the different criteria, different parameters I have written. There can be few more also, depending on someone else's journey. So these are some parameters which shows the growth for a teacher. Even after, let's say, 10-15 years of working, I am still teaching in a way that my students are not really interested in coming to my class. Or am I still teaching in a way, my subject, that nobody's interested in my class, my subject? So this is where I have a scope for growth. How can I do that? Because as a teacher, of course, that's a part of my responsibility. But that also personally will help me to feel good. So this is all part of a growth of a teacher. Now we'll see the process of, I wanted to show the video for this, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to show the video. So I have just taken this. This is the process of self-renewal. There is an egg. The journey begins with egg, and then it becomes a caterpillar or larva. Now this caterpillar, the caterpillar is called eating machine. It just keeps eating throughout day and night, and it feeds on leaves, and it just keeps walking there and keeps eating. Now this is like, absorbing the information from the environment, in taking a lot of information, absorbing in information, and whatever is there. So the caterpillar is only focusing on eating here, and then a stage comes where it stops eating, where it stops taking anything from the external world, and it goes into it makes a chrysalis. ये जो अपना क्रिसलिस है, इस कोकून बनाता है अपने आसपास में कैटरपिलर, और फिर वो उसके अंदर चला जाता है, और फिर वो वहां पे कुछ फॉर अ वीक और सो वो इट स्टेज इन द क्रिसलिस. अपने shell में रहते हैं. So this caterpillar, it looks, it does not have, it's not a very beautiful sight to see a caterpillar. Most of the caterpillars are not very pleasant in sight, and when you look at them, most of the time we don't want to touch them. And so then from that eating machine to this stage where it undergoes complete metamorphosis, it goes into this chrysalis, it stays there very peacefully, silently, without eating anything, without any new input. So from all that it has eaten, with all that it has taken, the process of metamorphosis takes place, and a beautiful butterfly that comes out of it. So see, this is a very beautiful example of transformation of basically of self-renewal, that how a caterpillar from this stage becomes a butterfly, but it has to go through a process where it weaves its own chrysalis around its body, and it अपनी बॉडी को वो बिल्कुल ही एकदम संकुचित कर देता है, एकदम ही बिल्कुल बंद कर देता है एक प्यूपा में, क्रिसलिस में, और फिर उसके बाद वो कैसे इट comes as a butterfly. So that is the process of self renewal also. So a lot of information we take, then we need to understand that information in context to myself and in context to my environment, and then I renew myself, and I become a beautiful sight, so that people learn from me, so that I become a part of the learning environment, create a learning environment. So for teacher, how we will talk about it, this is that understanding the system and oneself. Here as a teacher, what I do is I try to understand the system, and I try to understand myself, that what is the system, where am I fitting in here, where am I not fitting in here, what do I need to change, what can I bring some change in the system? If yes, good. If not, what I can change in myself? Because if we stuck there that, okay, I cannot bring any change in the system, so let it be like this, and I am also stuck in that stage. So there will not be any growth, and there is no possibility of self-renewal. Instead, there is a possibility of self-decay in the form of frustration, irritation, anger, and because that will build up. Because any remaining stagnant at one place will definitely build up trust, it will build up inertia, it will build up something which force which will make it difficult for us to be there. So first stage is that this is Shravanam, taking information, being conscious, learning to think. And then I do some critical reflection, I do some manan, and I observe myself, that what is it that I need to improve? What is it that I need to add in myself? In terms of the way I speak, in terms of the way I express, in terms of the way I learn. And so self-observation, and that brings in self-knowledge. That tells me about me. Because self-knowledge is a prerequisite for self-renewal. If only I know about myself, I can change myself. If I don't know, if I do not have my knowledge about myself, I cannot bring in any change. So knowledge includes all those parts, like my habits, my way of speaking, the people I am with, my friends, my colleagues, what they think about me, what I think about them. So all this is the area where the scope for having knowledge about oneself and bringing change. And then culmination into action. That is the last realization part. Bringing knowledge and reflection into action or creation. So action can be very small. It is not that it has to be very big action. It can be as small as helping one student to study. It can be as small, and it can be as big to bring to mentor an institution, to advise an institution, to bring up an institution which has such ground for people to learn. Then how to go through this process? So To go through this process, we need a mentor. So this I checked it at many places, and I found this, that, and also within my journey, through in my journey also, I can like say this, that you need we always initial to begin the journey and even to sustain the journey, we need a guru, we need a mentor whom we can choose, whom we should choose, because as an adult we know that who is the person whom I can approach with my doubts, and who can help me to resolve the doubts and not give me answers, but to help me, facilitate me to resolve the doubts. So uh, finding the mentor, finding your own guru. So this is a process, because someone has to be there who can tell me that, okay, this is where I need to work. For this, I need also have to be, I also need to have the trait of accepting the feedback, whatever is being told, accepting that. So then take your personal growth inventory. Personal growth inventory means what, let's say, if we take, so if my hobby, so personal growth inventory means where am I growing? How am I growing? What are the areas where I need to grow? So thinking about it, and then nurturing hobbies. Hobby is something that leads us to freedom, and it creates capacity for self-renewal. Hobby is something which is very close to our heart and our personality and our understanding and our perspective. So it is a very, very important aspect. It is a very spiritual aspect of a human being, the hobby. It is not as simple that, we go to one class and we are doing, I'm doing this, it's not that. And it is not only for children to have, it is for all of us, for all adults, until the last day of life. The hobbies are to be nurtured, uh, because that's the space where we feel free. That's the space where I feel creative. That's the space where I feel peaceful. So it's a very important, it is also an important prerequisite for the process of self renewal. And the continuous spiraling in and spiraling out in thoughts, feelings, and actions. Continuous thinking of, spiraling in means where I'm able to conclude something, and spiraling out means where I'm diverging. So convergence and divergence of thoughts. Also, it should not happen that I'm just, keeping just diverging only, and I'm not able to converge. So that's where the problem comes. So we need to learn to think also. So the best way to need to think properly is to write. So when we write, we limit our thoughts. When we think in our mind, there is no limit. So it is always suggested to write, to limit your thought and to reach to conclusion. And understanding the obstacles. And what are the obstacles that I'm seeing in my path of growth? And begin with what is in your control. So there can be 10 obstacles. Let's see. So I identify, okay, this is one which I can overcome. So I begin with that. So, so now how institutions can help an individual teacher on path of self-renewal. So this is where most of us feel stuck. But I think it is how the whole part, the whole systems are, because systems always have their limitations. So so a society decays when its institutions and individuals lose their vitality in purpose. Society decays when its institutions and individuals lose their vitality in purpose. Vitality in purpose. When we lose it, anyone, society or institution or individuals, the decay begins. And this is what is, it is visible now in the present society. We can see that how there is a decay of social values. There is a decay of yesterday there was a question related to how children are no question there was an somebody has asked about how children are doing good in academics but they are not able to do good in their other areas of life. So this is here we can see that how the academics is one part of it, is a very small part of it, but then this is presently in the present system it has been made the 100%, but that's not the 100%. So if we have made it 100%, so now the child does not know what else, how else to make decision, how to make decision, how to solve a problem, how to solve real life problems, how to talk to people. So all that is lacking. So this is how the society is, we can say that there are so in this literature, when we are going away from roots, when we are going away from our roots, and especially our roots where the literature talks about the holistic growth, holistic development, the whole literature talks about it, and we have left it behind. So this is now the time where the knowledge of self, the understanding of self, that was a part of the life. So during those days, so we did not need psychotherapists or psychiatrists or counselors or such trainings to make us understand about self development, self growth, self knowledge. So it was, those things were not required. Now because this understanding of self, understanding of my connection to others, it is not a part of education, it is not a part of the social system, it is not a part of any system actually. So that is where we lack, and that is where in the later age we find problem to connect to others and to connect to oneself also, myself also. First I cannot connect to myself, that is why I cannot connect to others also. So for self renewal we need to go back to our core, we need to go back to our cultural roots, and there is so much of literature which talks about, very simply, which talks about how to live good life. And it's not that the in school we have to tell them, see, moral stories and all. There is a period of there is one class for moral studies, there is a book for moral studies, but does that really bring in any kind of morals in our children or in our grown-ups now? So it does not help. The book, the story of it doesn't help like this. It has to be lived, then it helps. So when we ask a child to cram a story and to then write crammed moral of a story, then the body will not absorb it. It is only till the level of memory, and the body is not going to absorb it, and then it is not going to come in the behavior, it is not going to come in the action. So that is where we need to work as a teacher. We need to work with children for our self renewal, where we get in touch with ourselves, where we get in touch with our roots, and then when we see that what am I, what change can I do, what can I change with respect to myself and with respect to anyone else or to an institution. So providing inspiration and motivation to teachers, this is what institution can do. So those teachers who are on those kind of path of where they want to do something more than what is the requirement of the course, requirement of the subject. So if they want to do something more, so inspiration and motivation should be provided to such teachers, and creating conducive environment for self-renewal of individuals. conducive environment for self renewal. So if one person is doing something, is wants to experiment something, so if there is a conducive environment for that, it helps an individual as a teacher and also students. And also when this one student goes out and makes difference in the life of many others. So how this teacher is, it has a very, teacher has a very strong, a very broader reach through the students, through the parents. So if the teacher can begin a process, the students and the parents actually can take it ahead and take it in the sense, process in the sense, even the one good quality of a teacher, that also is enough. That also is enough. A good quality, one good hobby, one something, not something very big. Even a small, the principle of ethics, those kind of things. So even that goes, spreads to students and then to their lives and then to the people they come across. So, and the creating culture of learning institution through continuous experimentations. So learning institution का culture होना ये बहुत जरूरी है, so that research and everything, it lacks in our country very badly. But yes, few institutions, if comes ahead and allow and create such ground where there is no competition, because it is the competition which basically hampers the growth. It is, if we are working with collaboration, it will help the teacher to self-renew, for the institution to self-renew by bringing in the culture of learning, learning institution, learning organization, the culture of learning. That is what is important to renew oneself. When there is no culture of learning around an individual, it becomes very difficult for an individual, for a child even, to learn in the family, to for a person to learn in the family are also difficult when there is, the culture of learning is not there. The families which carry the culture of learning, it becomes easier for children. Similarly, if the institution carries the culture of learning, it becomes inspiration, motivation for the teachers to discover themselves, to get into the process of self-inquiry and self-discovery, and then to bring in some change. So it is not only for the purpose of a teacher renews oneself, not only for the purpose of institution, but for the purpose of basically for the self also, because that's where we derive personal fulfillment. That's where we derive personal satisfaction from. So with this, I suggest that it is like, for the process of the self renewal to begin, it is important to focus upon the hobbies. It is important to focus upon the culture, upon the roots, from where we are coming. What is it that is behind me? What is it that I am making ahead? So if we get into that kind of thinking process, that kind of discussions with our some respected mentors, if we get into that kind of discussions, we get a lot of help. Even so everyone, like, even the place of guru, the place of mentor is very high in the process of self renewal. It very important in the process of self renewal. Self renewal, where I renew myself, where I see a new, where I create a new self. And how means how I see that, how I find it is that last year I was like this. Now how am I? What change I see in me from the last year? In my content knowledge, in my behavior, in my hobbies, in my interests, in my behavior with my students and with my colleagues. So change on any platform, any level, of any level, at any platform. So that is where we keep renewing ourselves. So for a teacher, it is very important. As we say, the teachers are, they have to be lifelong learners. Then only they can imbibe the culture of learning in students. If teacher is not learning, that's what is a lot of, that's how our education system is presently going through a lot of this, that where we need change. And so there, I just read it somewhere that the lamp which is burning can only light the other lamp. So it's same as like teacher. So if only I as a teacher I'm learning, I can I can make someone else learn. So with this, I complete my presentation on self-renewal. And now I ask Pramod sir or Harmeet Kaur ma'am to invite any questions or discussions or observations.
Thank you, Dr. Archana. Thanks for such an immersive presentation, and such a presentation which really makes us think how to renew ourselves and which are the different ways how to really go about where are we and where we ought to be. You have really it has been really an academic feast listening to you. Now, may I request the organizers to keep the presentation open for discussion. Yes, Dr. Pramod, please. Dr. Pramod, you are online?
No, sir. Pramod sir is, I think, offline now.
Okay, he's offline. Okay, now the presentation is open for discussion. Any question, any query you can raise.
I think no questions yet from any participants.
Okay. Well, Dr. Harmeet, we begin with you. You would like to raise any question?
सर मैम का था ही इतना वास्ट कि एवरीथिंग इज ओके, सारा कुछ उन्होंने फ्रॉम जो भी पिन पॉइंट करना था वो सारा कुछ उन्होंने पिन पॉइंट करके वेल एक्सप्लेन. थैंक यू मैम, रियली बहुत इंफॉर्मेटिव ये सेशन था. थैंक यू सो मच मैम.
Thank you.
Yeah, any question, any observation, any reflection from anyone?
Sir, there is one question in chat, sir.
Yes.
Is it procrastination? Is it a procrastination when we say we need renewal? Yes. Procrastination always, what is the reason? Procrastination always has a reason. It has a fear of not doing something, of not getting into. ये क्वेश्चन नरेंद्र देशमुख जी ने पूछा है. So
yeah.
हाँ, तो ये प्रोक्रेस्टिनेशन, बिल्कुल जब हम कुछ भी प्रोक्रेस्टिनेट कर रहे हैं, we are procrastinating means either we are doubtful of something, or we are not sure of something, or it is not interesting enough, we are not passionate about something. So we need to renew, we need to we need to relook at our work, why we are procrastinating.
Well, what we are expecting from the webinarians is some questions. You have all appreciation, it was very good and so. But what we are expecting from you is some observations, some reflections, some questions, rather than it was very good, it was excellent. Okay, fine, fair enough. Now, please raise your questions.
So Dr. Vinayak has asked, what is the difference between self-renewal and renunciation?
Yes.
So self-renewal and renunciation are two different aspects, different concepts. Renunciation is where it is more related to the detachment part, where I renunciate to react to material pleasures. That is renunciation. renunciate material pleasure, where I renunciate to react to emotional episodes. So that is renunciation, that is different. And self-renewal is where I create myself new, I create something, I was very underconfident, let's say. So now I'm working upon my confidence. So, and I become more confident.
Yeah.
That is renewal.
Archana,
Yes.
Archana, may I add to this discussion, your
Yes, sir.
dialogue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
कई बार हम कहते हैं कि कोई हमारे साथी कहते थे, हरमीत जी हमारे साथी कहते थे, अर्चना जी, भीड़ में भी रहता हूँ वीरान के सारे, भीड़ में भी रहता हूँ वीरान के सारे, I have learned to live alone in the crowds. I don't want to lose myself in the crowds. I want to realize my own self. I want to realize on my own self and have a connect with wheresoever I like to have connect. Okay. And when we are lost in the crowds, say in a democratic republic, if you say, okay, we will go by vote count, raise your hands. And people looking at each other raise their hands. Okay. And I have a feeling that even in case of democracy, the views of the minority ought to be respected, provided those are substantial. Okay. So renunciation and renewal, these seem to be highly interrelated. Okay. Means ये हम एक आपने बहुत अच्छी बात कही थी, आपने अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में एक बात कही थी, if one is sick, the rest are sick. It is a universe. Universe, uni-verse, universe. We sing in a single verse. And if even a single individual is unhealthy, we are not in a position to sing that melodious song.
Yes.
Okay. For that, all of us have to be healthy.
So here Devdutt ji is saying that I want to say something.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Devdutt ji, please come up. Yes.
Okay. Okay. There is another question by Dr. Rajesh. Is there any formal approaches for renewal? For formal approaches for renewal is basically, it is, as I have found this reference to this term more in Adi Shankaracharya's literature. So you can go through that. It's a very vast literature, of course, but it mainly focuses upon the first is being conscious to the environment, understanding the environment, absorbing mindfully, and then reflection that what I need to change to make things better, to make things grow, and then putting it into action. So the knowledge which is put into action, the knowledge which has to be put into action, then it will bring something renew. It will renew the position. It will renew the you and the whatever is the position at that point of time. So I hope this is this has given you answer.
What exactly was the question, Archana?
The question was, his question was, is there any formal approach for renewal?
Formal approach for renewal. Yes. So what could be the formal approach for renewal, Archana?
So formal approach, this is a method. So what I found, of course, there has to be something more because I have just started working upon this part, but the approach, the method that I found is to have a self-knowledge, self-observation, self-knowledge, and then action, and then the change. So this is what the method is. It begins from self-observation, compassionate observation, as I said.
rather than development of the institutions, rather than renewal of the individuals, there has been degeneration of values and
Yes.
degeneration of institutions.
Hmm.
So what could be the formal approaches for revival? All the scriptures
Yes. Yes.
have focused on this.
Hmm.
All the scriptures have focused on this, whether it is Srimad Bhagavad Gita,
Hmm.
or it is Bhagavatam, or it is Upanishad, or certain scriptures which you mentioned today. Okay, how to renew
Yes.
our own selves.
Yes.
You are host. Please unmute participants.
Yeah, just a minute. How do I do that?
Ma'am, there are few queries in question and answer.
Yeah, that is there. Let me try to unmute the participants. Yeah. Can I unmute all? No. Yes. Devdutt ji have unmuted.
मेरी आवाज सुनाई दे रही मैडम?
जी जी।
हाँ, प्रणाम गोयल सर को प्रणाम, आपको भी नमस्ते। बहुत ही अच्छा विषय था और आपने बहुत सारे भारतीय जो प्राचीन वाङ्मय का उदाहरण दिए, जैसे प्रश्नोत्तरी शंकराचार्य का। मुझे और एक जानना चाहिए था कि और भी कोई ऐसा साहित्य है क्या? यद्यपि मैं संस्कृत ही पढ़ा हूँ कि प्राचीन जितना भी वाङ्मय है वो परामर्श आधारित ही बहुत है, जितने भी लोग आते थे। तो जितना समाधान विश्व के दुख का या पीड़ा वेदना का किया है, चाहे गौतम बुद्ध के साहित्य में हो, चाहे वैदिक साहित्य में हो, उपनिषदिक वाङ्मय में हो, तो अगर व्यवस्थित अगर हम संकलन करके प्रस्तुत करेंगे तो दुनिया को एक बहुत बड़ी देन हो सकती है। हम उसको राइट वे में प्रेजेंट नहीं कर पा रहे हैं और नए टेक्निकल टर्म में आधुनिक ढंग से उसको रखने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जो हम कहीं रख रहे हैं जो भारतीय मूल जड़ों से। तो मेरा निवेदन है कि आपने जो इतना पुरुषार्थ किया या प्रयत्न किया है, उदाहरण तो आपने दिए, बौद्ध साहित्य में एक अनाथ पिंडक का बहुत सुंदर उदाहरण आता है इसमें। ये उसको आनंद मतलब परामर्श देता है, काउंसलिंग करता है, वो बहुत अद्भुत है। और ये जो तिसा गौतमी को गौतम बुद्ध मतलब परामर्श देता है कि जो मरा हुआ बच्चा है वो जिंदा नहीं हो सकता है, वो भी अद्भुत परामर्श है। ऐसे बहुत सारे परामर्श के हैं, तो उसको कैटेगराइज करके अगर हम रखेंगे तो आज की जो पीढ़ी है हमारे स्कूल कॉलेज में, जो इमोशनली बहुत भटक जा रहे हैं, तो या टीचर्स इवन कोई भी समझ लीजिए, तो एक एक्सट्रीम मतलब स्टेप उठाते हैं, उनको बचा सकते हैं, उनको अच्छा मार्गदर्शन कर सकते हैं। तो मेरा निवेदन है कि आप मतलब ऐसा और भी, क्योंकि आप उस विषय में अच्छा पढ़े हैं, तो आप वर्गीकरण करके अगर रख देंगे अच्छे ढंग से कि भाई ये काउंसलिंग किस प्रकार का है, अभी प्रश्न का काउंसलिंग किस प्रकार का है, तो बहुत स्पष्ट हो जाएगा।
मैं इसमें अभी काम कर रही हूँ, पर ये इतना वास्ट है, इतना ज्यादा है कि समझने में अभी तो एक एक चीज को बार बार वही समझना, क्योंकि मैं खुद एक्चुअली जब मैंने बीएड एमएड सब कुछ किया, पीएचडी किया, तो फिर मैंने सब कुछ उस समय सारा वेस्टर्न लिटरेचर ही पढ़ा है।
अच्छा।
फिर बाद में अब आके फिर मुझे ऐसे लगने लगा कि ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि हमारे पास अपना कुछ भी है ही नहीं और सब कुछ हम वेस्टर्न ही पढ़ रहे हैं, ऐसा तो हो ही नहीं सकता। तो फिर इसलिए देन आई स्टार्टेड पूरा, मैंने फिर ढूंढना शुरू किया धीरे धीरे धीरे। तो अभी मेनली मेरा फोकस गीता और आदि शंकराचार्य दो चीजों पर ही है, तो उन्हीं पर मैं ज्यादा फोकस करके समझने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ। तो
नहीं, मैं जो बता रहा हूँ ना, जो गौतम बुद्ध के जितने भी प्रसंग हैं, हर एक प्रसंग पर उन्होंने एक उपदेश दिया है, एक कुछ बोला है, तो वो सभी कुछ न कुछ वेदना, पीड़ा, परेशानी, उलझन लेकर ही गए हैं। तो उसका जो उन्होंने काउंसलिंग किया है, जो मनोवैज्ञानिक ढंग से किया है, वो अद्भुत है। ये भारत में जो भी सिद्ध पुरुष रहे हैं उनके कुछ न कुछ मतलब अनुभूति के आधार पर उन्होंने जो दिया है वो सनातन है और शाश्वत है। तो अगर उस पर आप कुछ, मैंने जैसे बताया तिस्सा गौतमी का किस्सा एक बताया, मौलंक पुत्र की कहानी आप पढ़ लीजिए। एक मतलब जो अनाथ पिंडक की है,
हाँ,
एक स्वयं आनंद की है। आनंद अनाथ पिंडक को परामर्श देता है और आनंद को गौतम बुद्ध देते हैं बहुत सारे प्रसंग पर। तो अगर वो अलग अलग प्रसंग आप पढ़ लेंगे ना तो आपको बहुत कुछ मैटर मिलेगा, बहुत। और केवल मैं एक आपको बता रहा हूँ, आनंद जो मौलंक पुत्र और गौतम बुद्ध का जो संवाद है ना, वो मतलब पूरे एजुकेशन में जो टीचिंग मेथोडोलॉजी का एक वंडरफुल उदाहरण है। तो वो आप जरूर देख लीजिए।
ट्रू। अभी जैसे बहुत सारा है, खैर वही जिस तरह से इसको कैसे आगे लाया जाए अभी उस पे
हाँ वही वही
सोचने की जरूरत है। तो ठीक है, थैंक यू। अभी एक इन्होंने मोनस ठक्कर उन्होंने पूछा है कि ये जो श्लोक है परिप्रश्नेन सेवया, ये वाला प्राणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया, तो इसमें परिप्रश्नेन इज आई थिंक हाँ सेल्फ इंक्वायरी से रिलेटेड है कि कितना वापस वापस वही जो क्वेश्चन खुद को पूछना, परिप्रश्नेन, ये मैं इस पे बात करने वाली थी, इसमें ये रह गया। इट इज रिलेटेड टू सेल्फ रिन्यूअल। यस, इट इज अ टूल फॉर सेल्फ रिन्यूअल।
वेल ये देवदत्त जी का और अर्चना जी का जो डायलॉग चल रहा था, मैं उसमें एक दो बात रखूं
जी जी जी,
विद योर काइंड परमिशन ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजर्स।
श्योर श्योर, विद ग्रेट प्लेजर, मेरे ओर से तो है।
जैसे हम कहते हैं बुद्धम शरणम गच्छामि, बुद्धम शरणम गच्छामि, धम्मम शरणम गच्छामि, संघम शरणम गच्छामि. When we go to the depth of it, it is nothing but self-realization, self-renewal. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami means we go to the core of our consciousness. And when we go to the core of our consciousness, it has a renewal. It has a renewal. Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. We go to mysticism. We should not get lost into all these sampradayas. We should go into mysticism. From there we get the renewal. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. We should have a sangh. We should have a union. We should have a company of all those where from the ideas spring, the feelings flow, the motor muscles create, the self reigns, and the self resonates with the rest. That is the beauty of Buddhism. Another, when you were having dialogue with Archana Devdutt ji, मेरे को एक किस्सा याद आया, छोटा सा है. I won't take more than a minute because there is always an overflow of time. एक बार वैशंपायन जी और ऋषि याज्ञवल्क्य जी शिष्य थे वैशंपायन जी के. तो बाकी शिष्य हैं, उन्होंने शिकायत कर दी वैशंपायन जी को कि याज्ञवल्क्य जी अपने आप को बहुत बड़ा समझते हैं और बहुत बड़ा विद्वान समझते हैं और आप मतलब आपको तो कुछ समझते ही नहीं. तो वैशंपायन जी ने आप देखा ना था, उन्होंने कहा आज से तुम गुरुकुल छोड़ दो. और जब उन्होंने गुरुकुल छोड़ के जाने लगे, उनको कुछ नहीं, he didn't react to it. उन्होंने उनकी अमल किया, उनकी बात पर अमल किया और गुरुकुल से बाहर निकलने ही वाले थे. कहा कि ऐसे कैसे जा रहे हो, जितना ज्ञान यहाँ से ग्रहण किया है उसको भी यहाँ पर ही वापस छोड़कर जाओ. तो कहते हैं उसने उसको वोमिट कर दिया. जब उसने वोमिट कर दिया तो जो बाकी शिष्य हैं वो तीतर बन गए और जिनसे उन्होंने तीतर बन के उस ज्ञान को चुगा और उसको चुगने से जो सहती जो वॉल्यूम बना उसका नाम तात्रीय उपनिषद बना. और उसके बाद जो याज्ञवल्क्य जी हैं, उन्होंने सूर्यदेव की शरण ली और उन्होंने कहा ऐसा ऐसा हुआ है. आप जब विनंती करी और कई दिन तक पूरी आत्मा के साथ विनंती करी तो सूर्यदेव ने उनको अपने शिष्य के रूप में स्वीकार किया. उन्हें मंत्र दिए, उन्हें श्लोक दिए और उसके बाद में ऋषि याज्ञवल्क्य ने सेल्फ रिन्यूअल के लिए, सेल्फ डेवलपमेंट के लिए, जीवन सार्थकता के लिए बहुत सारा वो वहां पर मटेरियल दिया. तो जब अब हमारा तो लिटरेचर इतना भरा है। हम जनक और जानकी, जनक को विधेय क्यों कहते हैं और जानकी को वैदेही क्यों कहते हैं? अरे उनके देह थे, शरीर थे, फिर भी उनको विधेय और वैदेही क्यों कहते हैं? It is a wonderful example of self renewal. You have bodies, but you don't require food. You don't require food to eat. You can sustain. You know, माता सीता को तो बोलते हैं वो श्रेष्ठतम नारी रहे हैं। अब जब रावण उनको उठाकर लगे, ना उन्होंने पानी लिया, ना उन्हें कोई व्यंजन लिया, फिर भी वो जीवित रही, वो वैदेही है। तो हमारा पूरा का पूरा लिटरेचर इतना भरपूर है, हमारे पास लिटरेचर जो हमें ये बताता है कि सेल्फ रिन्यूअल कहाँ है, सेल्फ रिन्यूअल कैसे होता है। पर हमारी वेदना, हमारी व्यथा क्या है देवदत्त जी, कि जो कुछ सिखाना चाहिए, जो कुछ विद्यालयों में होना चाहिए वो नहीं होता है। उसके अतिरिक्त जो हो रहा है, that is not a very happy state, irrespective of all the committees and commissions. So, okay, thank you very much. And thanks for providing me chance to come in.
So, ये इन्होंने एक और किसी ने पूछा है, एनोनिमस अटेंडी लिखा हुआ है इनके उसमें नाम पे। In a normal class where the number of students is very large, how self-renewal is possible? In that class where the syllabus is very vast and time period is very limited, can we make it applicable for a formal class? So it is for a teacher to it is for a teacher. Actually मुझे यही एक सबसे बड़ा जो गलत पूरे एजुकेशन में लगता है वो ये लगता है कि हर चीज पढ़ाने की जरूरत नहीं है। एक्चुअली बच्चे को उस लायक बनाने की जरूरत है कि वो अपने आप पढ़े, अपने आप करे। एंड एवरी चाइल्ड हैज द कैपेसिटी टू लर्न ऑन देयर ओन। दे डोंट नीड टू बी स्पून फीडिंग की जरूरत नहीं है। बट हमने वो पूरा सिस्टम ऐसा बना दिया है कि अब हमको स्पून फीड कर रहे हैं हम। तो अगर हम स्पून फीडिंग में रहेंगे तो हम एक एक को तो खिला ही नहीं पाएंगे, कभी नहीं खिला पाएंगे। सो बेसिकली इफ वी कैन क्रिएट दैट वो उस तरह का एक एनवायरनमेंट हम बना सकें वेयर वी हेल्प चिल्ड्रन टू लर्न ऑन देयर ओन, वो अगर हम क्रिएट कर पाए, कंस्ट्रक्टिविस्ट अप्रोच की हम बार बार बात करते हैं, अगर हम उसको ला पाए, अगर वो पॉसिबल हो, तब ये सब कुछ बहुत ज्यादा इट विल बी वेरी हेल्पफुल। बट अगर हम उसी ढंग में लगे रहेंगे कि हम एक एक आंसर लिखवा रहे हैं, हम एक एक आंसर का क्वेश्चन बच्चे को रटना है और एग्जाम में लिखना है, तब आई डोंट नो कितना पॉसिबिलिटीज है इन दैट केस। बट यस, एज ए टीचर हम अपने आप को एक रिन्यू कर सकते हैं, हम अपने आप को उस लेवल पे ला सकते हैं। वॉट एवर द सिस्टम इज, इर्रिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ दैट, हम अपने आप को रिन्यू कर सकते हैं। सो दैट इज माई पॉइंट फॉर दिस, कि अगर बड़ा क्लास है और सब कुछ सिलेबस कंप्लीट करना है ये में, तो कैसे हम हाउ वी मेक इट एप्लीकेबल? Yes, we can inspire children, we can motivate children. Before that we have to ourselves inspired enough to inspire someone.
Here Archana, I have a suggestion.
Ji.
That we can have reliability through mindfulness in Indian organizations. Repeating, we can have reliability through mindfulness in Indian organizations by becoming impersonally personal, by becoming impersonally personalized. How to become impersonally personalized? I give you an example. 2 years I was teaching in DTU, Delhi Technological University, for coursework, that is doctoral PhD coursework to MTech students. And the class size, it used to be more than 150, more than 150. Can you imagine that I knew each one of them?
Yes.
I had a group of each one of them. They were flagging the queries and I was trying to respond to all those queries which I received. And this one which I have read just now to you, that reliability through mindfulness in Indian organizations, a proposed framework. It is that of the doctoral work of one of the students which I received this morning, who was my student in that forum. In that forum. So what I like to share with all the webinarians here is that we need to provide the differential inputs. जो हम अपने विद्यार्थियों को परोसते हैं वो इतना परोसें इसको जो जिसको उसमें से अच्छा लगे उसको ले लें, जो उसका हर किसी को कुछ ना कुछ उसमें उसको लगे कि मेरे को लगे कि मैं अर्चना मैम मेरे लिए बोल रहे हैं, हाँ? देवदत्त को लगे कि मेरे लिए बोल रहे हैं, अनीता को लगे कि मेरे लिए बोल रहे हैं, सबको लगता है कि मैडम मेरे लिए दे के गए हैं कुछ ना कुछ, सारे के सारे स्टूडेंट्स को. All the students carry along with them something because our Archana madam has been impersonally personal. Her examples, her substance, her reflections, her connects with everyone, with everyone, with everyone.
So there is another question by Supriya Singh. So I want to know that there are where to get motivation for self-renewal, especially when a teacher is surrounded with a very demotivating situations around, and there is very demotivation for teaching, not only for teaching but also personal growth as well. So what to do in such situation? So what I have seen in my experience and what I have understood, sir will also add into this, that all this is going to be there. Difficulty in home with some family member, difficulty at college with some colleague. So all this is going to be there. We cannot escape from this. We are living in the human society. Everybody is different and everybody is a different perspective. Now, what I do is that I focus on myself. I do not focus on others. Somebody is trying to demotivate me. That is their character. That is their understanding. That is their lookout. But I'm not focusing on that person. I'm focusing on myself. This is what I have been doing. You have to be very, very, I think, एक बहुत ही strong self concept की जरूरत हम लोगों को सबको as a teacher, as a student है, जो build-up हो नहीं पाता है शुरू से, schools में build-up नहीं होता है ये. हमें काफी जो सारे self doubts हैं ये basically पूरे हमारे childhood से आते हैं of course. तो सेल्फ डाउट से बाहर आना है और सेल्फ कॉन्सेप्ट को बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग करना है कि मेरा फोकस मेरे ऊपर है. मेरा फोकस, मैं ज्यादा टाइम उसको नहीं दूंगी कि वो मुझे डिमोटिवेट कर रहा है, उसको उस चीज को मैं ज्यादा टाइम दूं. ज्यादा टाइम मैं इस चीज को दूंगी कि मैं क्या कर रही हूँ अपने लिए, व्हाट एम आई डूइंग फॉर माई सेल्फ. ठीक है, कोई डिमोटिवेट कर रहा है, कोई तंग कर रहा है, वो हमारे दिमाग में आएगा, बहुत ज्यादा हम उसे नेग्लेक्ट नहीं कर सकते. बट क्या हम पूरा टाइम उसी के बारे में, उसी को नर्चर कर रहे हैं, उसी चीज को, थॉट को नर्चर कर रहे हैं? सो वहां से निकल के वो हमें एक चीज अपने आप में लानी पड़ेगी. देन ओनली वी कैन फोकस ऑन अवर सेल्फ एंड अवर ग्रोथ.
Would you like to give some concrete example, Archana, from life-like situation? Any one example to this effect?
और हाँ, स्पेशली ये जब सेल्फ रिन्यूअल की बात होती है ना, तो इसमें ये ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट और हो जाता है कि व्हाट आर यू डूइंग फॉर अदर्स इंस्टेड ऑफ आस्किंग व्हाट आर अदर्स डूइंग फॉर मी. ये बहुत बड़ी चीज है. हमारी सारी एनर्जी वहां से आती है कि व्हाट एम आई डूइंग फॉर अदर्स, हाउ एम आई हेल्पिंग समवन एल्सेस लाइफ. जब हम उस लेवल पे काम करते, कनेक्ट करते हैं लोगों के साथ में, उनको हेल्प करते हैं आगे बढ़ने के लिए, तो हमें एनर्जी मिलती है आगे बढ़ने के लिए.
Yes.
अगर हम इसी में फंसे रह जाते हैं कि मेरी ये प्रॉब्लम है, मेरी वो प्रॉब्लम है, तो ना तो हम खुद को हेल्प कर पाएंगे, ना हम दूसरे को हेल्प कर पाएंगे.
Yes, exactly. But how to overpower such demotivating factors?
हमारा जो गोल है वो सबसे, आई थिंक उसको, दैट इज व्हाट आई हैव बीन डूइंग एंड दैट इज व्हाट आई हेल्प माय स्टूडेंट्स एंड अदर, लाइक जो लोग भी मेरे पास आते हैं फॉर काउंसलिंग एंड एवरीथिंग. तो दिस इज हाउ आई वर्क. सी व्हाट इज, वी हैव टू डिसाइड, ये करना है कि इम्पोर्टेंट क्या है हमारे लिए. क्या ये जो हमें डिमोटिवेट कर रहा है, क्या वो इम्पोर्टेंट है या मैं इम्पोर्टेंट हूँ. आई नॉर्मली वर्क लाइक दिस. हाँ, सिचुएशंस खराब होती हैं, बहुत डिमोटिवेटिंग होती हैं. डिमोटिवेटिंग से ज्यादा, बहुत ज्यादा आपको रिस्ट्रिक्ट भी आप हो सकते हो. बहुत बार ऐसा भी होता है, आपको कंप्लीटली रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर दिया जाता है कि आप कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते हो. जैसे मैंने ये केस शेयर किया था शुरू में कि देयर इज दिस गर्ल एंड देन उसको पीएचडी करना है और उसको डेटा कलेक्शन का टाइम है और उसको डेटा कलेक्शन के लिए मना कर दिया गया है, ठीक है. शी ट्राइड एवरीथिंग, शी कुड नॉट कन्विंस द डीन एंड द वीसी, बट देन बिकॉज she was so much involved, engaged with the students, that the students came out with the solution. So this is what, if we are helping someone, if we are, it helps us, that is where our energy, that is where the solutions comes from.
I think मैम sum up करें अभी आप.
ठीक है. और जी, आई थिंक सर ने, उन्होंने कहा था ना कि आप मतलब यू कैन आस्क क्वेश्चंस, अभी वो जब करेंगे, ओपन करेंगे, उस समय यू कैन आस्क क्वेश्चंस. एंड सो शैल वी नाउ हियर, इसको हम लोग यहाँ पे अभी करें.
जी जी मैम.
ओके
Okay मैम, thank you so much.
थैंक यू.
Informative session. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू.